following edition of Connecticut Valley Views is made possible by Windsor Federal Savings, with offices in Windsor, Granby, and Bloomfield. Neighbors helping neighbors since 1936.
On the road again, going places that I've never been, seeing things that I may never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again.
Hello, I'm Susan Regan, your host for Connecticut Valley Views, and today we are here at the Hartford Gun Club, and I am here with the president, Greg Magglio. Pleasure to be here today, Greg.
Nice to meet you, Susan.
Well, now tell me a little bit about the club. I know it's about 160 acres here. It's is that large for a gun club?
It's fairly large. There are clubs that are larger, but for the immediate area and our proximity to the Hartford and the neighboring towns, it's a good-sized club, yes.
And how many members do you have overall?
We have over 800 members currently. We have corporate memberships, we have retail memberships, academic schools and the like, and it is a family membership. And we encourage them to, bring their spouse and their children and enjoy the club.
If you have a breakdown between men and women as far as membership goes, because I know in today's world there are more women who are thinking about owning a gun if they live on their own, becoming more knowledgeable about it. So what would be the breakdown between men and women?
Right now, the breakdown is probably around 50%, give or take. Women are very interested in the shooting sports, whether it's shotgun, handgun, rifle, but there's a lot of interest in the shooting sports right now.
And you offer a great variety. I know you've got skeet and so forth.
Yes.
Give us a rundown of everything you offer.
Sure.
Here.
We offer skeet, we offer trap, 5-stand, fit task, which is the sporting clays event. We have the indoor pistol range, outdoor pistol ranges, and the rifle range out to 200 yards. So we have a great spectrum and a wide variety of shooting sports here.
Well, one of the things I noticed, we're here on a very cold day, but I noticed that there are people out there shooting, so they're very devoted to this sport.
Very devoted, whether it's the heat or the cold. And we do have some ability to make them comfortable from time to time with the weather, but yes, they're out here today and it's very windy and probably 28 degrees.
Well, one of the things I'd like to mention is that the club is very community oriented. You have tournaments here.
Yes.
You have membership by the state police, is that correct?
We have several police departments, North Central SWAT, a police department sniper team. So yes, there's a wide variety of law enforcement that belongs here as well. And
you also are involved with the wounded warriors as well, the vets?
Yes, we do a lot for the vets. I'm a vet myself, and we've raised money for wounded warriors and Salvation Army, Red Cross, a wide range of different groups. But we like to be a good member of the community. We do a lot, we give back a lot, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, it is. Now, a little bit of history on it. It wasn't originally here where the club started.
Correct.
It was
in Hartford.
It had a different name, too. It was
yes.
in Hartford.
Yes, Samuel Colt goes back to the 1800s. It started in Hartford, and over the years it's morphed a little bit into the Hartford Rifle Club. Then it was the Hartford Gun Club. It went to Farmington. And it ended up here around 1971 when the land was purchased and the facility was built.
Well, what I'd like to do now is to bring in Jeff Carter. We're talking about safety membership, and we will talk to Jeff just briefly, and then we have a very special guest that we want to have and bring on with us. Jeff, you're the Chief Safety Officer here.
Yes, I am.
And so safety is obviously the middle name of the club.
Most important concern here is safety. It's what we worry about.
And you have safety officers that
range safety officers that are trained to NRA requirements. We have a chief instructor that oversees that. We have, of course, a manager that's also responsible for safety. Everything we talk about is safety. And when we're done talking about safety, we talk about it more. So,
Yeah, well, I think one of the concerns would be if anybody thinking about getting a gun, learning how to shoot a gun, and have a membership here, would be you have children who are obviously part of it, and when we talk about children, they're part of the picture. They have to be of a certain age.
Yes.
And so forth, but they're here with their parents?
correct, yeah. We look mostly at physical ability. They will be here with their parents, supervised by their parents, overseen by the range safety officer, but we look for physical ability and not necessarily an age.
Well, I think one of the purposes is that when they're here and they hear them talking about safety and they hear people of the responsibility of a gun, under these circumstances and given this arena, given what you're talking about, this actually sets the responsibility mode. They're not just hearing it from their parents, they're hearing it from the safety officers, they're hearing it from everyone who's a member here.
Right.
And they see the other children who are listening to the responsibilities of owning a gun and shooting a gun. And I think that's important. That's setting it off in the right direction. Well, now we'd like to have a very special guest that is a member of the club. Jim Vicevich, I'm sure you've all heard of him on the radio. We love to listen to him every morning. Jim, what a pleasure to be here with you.
It's a pleasure to be with you as well.
Now, you've been a member here for how long?
For about 4 years.
4 years. And what is your area
Well, I love
of
shotguns.
expertise?
I mean, I love sporting clays. Shooting with Greg and his brother Charlie, it's a blast. It's a lot of fun, and you know, you're shooting clay pigeons, and teaches you a lot of accuracy and discipline, and mostly it's a lot of fun. But because, as you heard, we emphasize safety so much, it's you just do it automatically. You know how many shots, we all shoot over unders. We know how many shots we have, and we're done. We step to the back, we keep our guns unloaded, we wait for our next turn before you load. You do not load, by the way, until it's your turn to shoot. So you don't stand around with a loaded gun at this club.
Right.
That is strictly verboten. And you never, ever, ever carry around your shotgun. If it's an over-under, it's always carried broken. People need to see that it is unloaded. If it's a air compression, automatic, semi-automatic kind of shotgun, then you have to have it, you have to have the bolt pulled back so people can see it's unloaded. So we emphasize, especially with shotguns, a lot of safety.
Sure. Now, this has been part of your recuperation, has it not?
It
with
has.
your
I've been
arm?
using it to recoup. I have lupus. I have CNS lupus, central nervous system. And the only thing that really hasn't come back is my left arm. So Greg and I today, one of the things we're working on is getting the left arm to get some strength back in it so I can load the magazine, which we did. And I'll get better as we go along. And then, of course, instead of shooting with two hands, which is the way most people do, I'm learning to shoot one-handed. Up until the time the disease hit, I was a two-handed shooter. Now I have to shoot one-handed. I have to tell you, Greg's brother Charlie has always been trying to get me to shoot one-handed. And now I have to shoot one-handed.
Yeah, you're forced into the situation.
I'm forced right into the situation.
He did pretty good today.
Well, that's great. Well, it's also the mental part
Well, the
of
thing
it,
I
so-
like about it the most is, for someone like me, because it also affects my central nervous system, is it is discipline and concentration ahead of fun. So that the discipline comes in, you're always loading the same number of rounds into your magazine each time. So you know, even though the gun tells you when it's empty, in a semi-automatic, you know when it's empty. You always load the same number of rounds, so you know you're shooting 3 rounds every time, or 4 rounds every time. So you have that sort of, that discipline and the concentration that comes in, concentrating on always making sure the gun is downrange, making sure that you squeeze the trigger with the tip of your finger and you squeeze back slowly and you take a nice breath. I mean, all of it is discipline, concentration, way ahead of the fun. Of course, the fun is in hitting the target.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You'll always hit the target if you follow the first 2 rules, and that's concentration and discipline. And I have to say, Greg and his brother Charlie have really emphasized with that. They've made me a much better shooter because of these guys.
Well, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you, Jim, today.
Thank you very
And,
much. I appreciate it.
Really enjoyed speaking with you and certainly seem to enjoy it.
I do. Thank you.
You add a great deal to the club.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we're going to have the opportunity to speak with Tom Devito. He is the manager of the Hartford Gun Club. A pleasure to speak with you here today.
Good afternoon. Great to have you here.
Now, you are responsible for the day-to-day operations.
I am. The integrity of the facility, the staff and I, take care of the maintenance. I oversee the range safety officers. We try to ensure that everyone has a pleasant and safe visit here, the guests, the members, any events that we are hosting. And there are numerous that bring people in from far and wide.
All right, now I believe you've been president now since just this past November, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Greg, and how long have you been with the club?
I have been here as manager for about 4.5 years, but I joined the club in 1979 as a member, so I've been here for a little while.
What have you seen? If you've seen a change in the club, anything that's different, have you seen that there's a wider variety of interest? If you could monitor what has made the club grow, because I know there was a loss of membership at one point.
Correct.
But you as the president have done a great job of getting more membership. So what would you say might have been the greatest change you've seen?
Most recently, there seems to be a large increase in the number of people wanting to learn, first-time users of handguns, not so much the old guard, the old-time rifle shooters that came out of the military, but new young people who are interested in firearms, both for sport and personal protection.
I think the protection part of it has a great deal to deal with it, because
Definitely.
we have a lot of things that are going on in the news and media these days with regard to whether it's the economy, whether it's the crime, whether it's a sense of ownership, of independence. But I think getting the young people into it at a responsible age, as we spoke earlier, is very important. All right, well, it's been a pleasure to speak with you, and I think we're going to move over to your brother, Charlie. All right, we are now here with Charlie Magglio. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, obviously, being a lawyer and guns and so forth being involved, what have been some of the challenges that you have faced? Or has there been anybody who has actually challenged either, say, the noise of the club and the community? Have there been anything in particular, or do you feel that we're so community-oriented with the club that it's been well received?
I think we're very well received. I've been a member since 1976, and throughout that period of time acted as corporate counsel on occasions. I think the community at large likes us here as a club. We haven't had much issues with land or zoning, land use planning issues. There's people calling for complaints, noise, but that's usually taken care of in a prompt fashion. Safety, we're safe. We increase our berms, so there's backstop protection all the time, so we're not throwing lead and bullets on people's private property. If there's an accident, we have insurance, so insurance covers any kind of accident if there is one, so we're protected there. Other than that, just making sure when people come onto our premises, they sign appropriate waivers, releases. If they want permission to do something, they're properly licensed and insured to come and give classes, like these NRA classes. They have to be licensed and insured. And we have to make sure that they're coming here and follow all the rules of safety as well.
I think that's very key, Susan,
Yes.
is that we have a policy and procedure here that any guest that comes here or any vendor, outside source, you need a license agreement with the Hartford Gun Club, which is also hold harmless and additional insured. So we don't allow people to come on our property and give these classes just free ride.
Sure, of course, because you're responsible for everybody who's
That's
here
right,
and everything goes on here.
and proper waivers are signed. When we open the club, to the public, waivers again. So when we have these tournaments and these events and these fundraisers, they are very closely monitored. Jeff and Tom, scrutinize anyone that's going to shoot as part of that event or that tournament. They're shadowed by an instructor. It's a very controlled environment.
All right, let's get a little closer to home with regard to what's actually going on in the news. Recently, obviously down in Hartford, there have been demonstrations, speakers, obviously anti and pro of the gun situation. Comments on what you think will happen going forward in the state of Connecticut, Charlie?
I believe the state of Connecticut will pass some type of gun control laws and restrictions. I think they'll be stricter than that may come out of the federal United States Congress, and for a variety of reasons, political reasons mostly. But the state of Connecticut seems to be bent on using a lot of emotion and the momentum from emotion to get some kind of legislation passed for the sake of passing legislation, without addressing a cause and effect or effectiveness calculus. So are the laws that are going to be passed, are they going to serve some legitimate purpose to increase safety or decrease firearm violence? And I think they're way off on that. And we all understand, every gun owner understands, there's a responsibility that comes with your liberty or your fundamental right to have guns, and responsibility is one of them. But the real issue is the people causing the crime and the injuries with the guns are those who don't understand or take their responsibility seriously or can't understand it, whether they're mentally defective, emotionally troubled in some way. Accidents aren't really the problem.
Well, there are a lot of things that are in the mix. I mean,
Right.
we're looking at whether the movies are too violent, programs on TV
Video
are too
games.
much, the
Yeah.
video games are too much. There's a lot that's contributing to the issue itself.
Absolutely.
And so are we actually hitting in the right place in order to make sure that we can stem the tide on this type of violence?
There's one thing that I really object to, and that's the language being used in these hearings. Every time you hear somebody mention a firearm, they call it a weapon. A weapon is any instrument that can be used to inflict physical or deadly.
A hammer could be a weapon.
Exactly. Firearms are firearms. Guns are firearms, and they can be used for recreational purposes, sporting, self-defense. And when you get into the different usages, then they're used as weapons. But most of the people who use firearms put their self-defense as a secondary, and they usually do it for target shooting and practice and recreation.
Hunting.
And of course, hunting. Yeah, exactly. So, but everything you hear in the news is everything's called a weapon. Well, that's not how we look at them.
Well, the media obviously is playing on the results of what happens
Correct.
in a very special situation where young people are involved. So if we talk about these assault weapons, they're talking about possibly the grandfathering going back, and so those would not be grandfathered who already had assault weapons or of the type of firearms that have been used in some of the cases where the violence has occurred across the nation. Do you think that they're going to be able to reach back and be able to take those guns away from those people?
Well, New York is doing that right now through Governor Cuomo. They can pass forced buyback or sellback provisions, which under the Constitution of the United States and most of the states, as long as you pay for that property, you don't take it by confiscation without due process or paying for your private property, there's a real threat of that under our law. We can't call it confiscation because they're not coming in, taking it, and running away.
Sure.
But they can force you to sell back their guns to the state.
Right.
And that may be challenged in the states, okay, and in the United States courts as well. But under both Connecticut and the United States Constitution, we have rights to bear arms.
Certainly.
So that would be a class of property that may not be able to be subject to a forced sellback or forced buyback because it's protected for other reasons. And-
Well, there are a lot of issues at hand. I'm sure you're going to keep the gun club obviously up to snuff as
I
to
will.
what's going on, so the membership will know, and obviously the requirements that whatever state statutes may change with regard to regulations. But it's been a pleasure to speak to you,
Thank you.
Charlie,
You too.
and we thank you very much for your time.
Glad to be here.
Thanks.
Okay, we are now going to take a look at some of these firearms up close. All right, Greg, we're going to take a look at some of the different types of guns that are here. But one of the statements we'd like to make as we do that, because we do have the firearms and we do have the ammunition with them, and I think there is a statement you need to make.
Correct. First of all, I'd like it known that, number one, we don't allow firearms in this room. Number two, we don't allow ammunition with the firearms. We have our safety officers here. We have cleared this for the filming and for the event. So you will not come in here normally and see this type of situation or this display of firearms in this manner.
All right, and I'd also noted, I did ask the question, that there is a plastic piece that it's in each chamber of each gun to show that there is actually
Correct,
nothing
for
inside.
safety, that's right. The
safety
magazines
purposes.
are out and they're locked and in a safe position. The ammunition is separate. It's for display purposes only.
All right, so we'd like to start out with
Yes,
some of the
what you
first.
have here, this is a .22 caliber. The magazine is removed. This is the shell for the .22. These are 1911s, 45 ACP. This is the round that goes in that
Would these
gun.
be typical of
The firearm, you
the
mean?
firearm?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that is used for sporting, for self-defense, for all purposes. You get over here, you have basically what is a 5.56, commonly known today, the 223, which is basically the same round with minor modifications. This is my sporting rifle, okay? I put the larger magazine in just for display purposes. It has an EOTech sight on it. Some of the other fellows are going to let you know about their rifles, the Target rifles, and the other brands. And I'd like to bring up Mike,
All right.
and we'll start with Mike.
Yeah, Hi, Mike, how are you?
So this is a target rifle here. It's a Colt, as far as the brand is concerned. It fires a .223. Here are some of the magazines. This would be a legal 10-round magazine. This is a 10-round magazine that was modified by the company and frankly doesn't work very well. This is a 20-round magazine, which may become illegal. And what this...
And
so
that's because it carries...
It holds 20. It can
It
hold a
holds
maximum
20.
of 20. Some
And they're
of these
talking about a
actually have
maximum of
30s
7,
here.
is that correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the law
There's
is
different
specified
numbers
yet.
being thrown
Thrown
around,
around
10,
as to what they would
7s,
allow.
right.
Yeah. So, but it's the same platform. It's an AR platform. This has the match sights on it. It has a buttstock that's fully adjustable, and it can be weighted differently for the shooter, so it balances well for them. And then this forearm is free floating, so it doesn't hit the barrel, as well as you can cant it, so that you can adjust it right for when you have the sling on. And it also has a bloop tube on the end, which makes the sighting radius very, very long, and you can aim more precisely. So
This would be for target shooting.
this would be strictly for target shooting. It's probably used out to about 600 yards, and but it's the same as far as the platform. It's the same as these other ARs.
Just as a matter of interest, what are we talking about price range for these guns?
Price range, you're probably looking at $1,000 up to several $1,000s. And the nomenclature is very interesting. When Mike is mentioning the AR platform, a lot of people don't realize what AR stands for. They're thinking assault rifle, automatic rifle. It's Armalite. Armalite designed the firearm in the early 60s. Colt then took it over, and since then there's been several other companies that have gone into producing this firearm. So, with that, we can move down the line, but that is no more an assault rifle than that or the M1 over there.
Right.
Okay?
All right, let's move on to the next one. Thank you very much.
This, again, is an AR platform. It actually is my daughter's rifle. She's in the military. It has a scope on it. This shoots a 6.8. 6.8 was developed by Special Forces. So other than these that fire a .223 or 5.56, this shoots a 6.8. This is not what is
When
common.
we're talking 6.8,
Yes.
what are we talking about?
We are talking about the diameter of the bullet.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So that, just to show you the difference, is this is a .223, and this is a 6.8. So that's the difference. Just a little bit bigger bullet diameter, a little bit more powder behind it.
Will one travel further or create
The
a larger
intention-
hole at the
Right,
other
the
end?
intention is that it travels further. What they were finding in Afghanistan is the insurgents were standing out beyond the range of these, so they developed this round. This is not what's commonly called an assault weapon. There's a specific definition in Connecticut state law. This is a sporting rifle.
All right. The assault weapons are, and this may be a misunderstanding on my part, is there something about the handle or the holding part which is
The
different?
pistol
from
grip.
The pistol
Yes.
grip.
It begins as a semi-automatic rifle, which is what this is, with a detachable magazine that has two features: a muzzle brake, bayonet lug, pistol grip, collapsible stock, and a grenade launcher. Has to have two of those features.
And when you're talking
This-
grenade launcher, that's,
It's a device that shoots a grenade.
For military use.
Right.
that's interesting. Interesting. I
I'm
hadn't heard about that. I
surprised
think
it
we're
found
normally
it-
thinking we're
Yeah,
pitching
I'm-
the thing in.
I'm surprised it found its way into the regulation. I don't know
Right.
anybody that has one.
Right.
But what helps define a assault weapon.
None of these firearms are
No.
automatic weapon. It's
No interchangeable
semi-automatic.
parts. You cannot take parts out of this to make it a full automatic firearm. Can't do that. This is a Springfield Armory M1A1. It looks very similar to the.
Yeah, that's what I would call a rifle.
Yes,
That-
yeah, and this gets back to what some people consider the craft era of firearms. You notice that it has a walnut stock, and the ARs do not have that. This is, of course, more expensive to manufacture, so When Mr. Stoner came up with the AR design, which developed into the M16, he eliminated these kind of features because they're expensive. But these are considered a craft, a lot of hand fitting, not necessary in the AR platform. But this is a M1A1 highly accurized, far more accurate than I am. It resembles an M14 from the Vietnam era. There are no interchangeable parts. This could never be converted to a full automatic firearm. Could never happen.
With all of these different firearms and so forth, what seems to be the most popular for people? When a family comes in and they want to learn to start shooting, where
The
do
most
they
popular
start?
is the AR platform. The statistic the other day that we were discussing is over 20% of all firearms today are of the AR platform design.
All right, and if we're going to, I won't say recommend per se, but is there a starting point if someone comes in and says, okay, I want to get certified and so forth, is there kind of a starting point where you recommend that people start with in order to get used to handling guns?
On the handgun side, the instructors work with the new students. When they come to the club, and we review their application. If they are inexperienced, what we do is we recommend that they are shadowed by somebody that's knowledgeable, certified, a safety officer, and work with that person until they're very comfortable and confident in handling the firearm, loading it, unloading it, shooting it, of course. With the rifle, the AR platform, you can get that in a .22 caliber. So for varmint shooting, plinking, it doesn't have to be a .223.
What is plinking?
When you're out there just shooting it,
Okay.
for an example, at the rifle range, you're shooting at metal targets, things like that. The cost of ammunition is a lot cheaper, and younger kids can start off with a .22 caliber.
All right, well, I think we have certainly gained a lot of knowledge, and I think one of the things that we want to underwrite and to highlight with this visit today to the Hartford Gun Club is that it is extremely important, obviously with all of these gun clubs, and in particular, I think we have made a great emphasis today that safety is the most important thing with regard to it. I think we have also acknowledged that we are educating people with regard to guns. I think there should be a normal fear of guns, but then, of course, we're always afraid of things we don't understand.
That's right.
So the more understanding you can become, to become knowledgeable, to become aware, is very important. And this is a good place to start. And we very much appreciate your time, Greg, and all
pleasure.
of the members and all of the staff for having us here today. And certainly we would like to give your website so that people can go on it, get some more information, perhaps consider becoming a member.
We'd love it.
Going through the certification process, introducing your family in a very responsible manner from your children on up. That would be important to do. So that website is?
HartfordGunClub.com. You can always reach us. You can call us at the phone number 658-1614. We'd love to talk with you and have you join the club.
All right. Well, and I also want to thank our special guest, Jim Vicevich, for joining us today. So I do thank you, Greg, very much
you,
for
Susan.
all your time and
Thank
effort.
you.
And we would like to invite you to see all of our shows on our website at www.ctvalleyviews.com. This is Susan Regan. Thanking you for joining me and bringing proof to the people.
On the road again, going places that I've never been, seeing things that I may never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again.
Our thanks to Windsor Federal Savings for making this program possible. Neighbors helping neighbors since 1936.